Begin the current Daf Mesechtes Bava Kama Daf. We begin on the bottom line of Yom Beis, where the Gemara continues the discussion from the previous Daf. And we had mentioned a diuk in the Mishnah. The words were Chavti betashlumi nizkei. What's tashlumi nizkei? I should say Chavti benizkei. Tashlumi nizkei means to say that, says the Gemara, Habayla metaplim benavela, which means to say that, let's say there's a dead ox in the guy's pit. So the live ox was worth 200. The dead one is worth 100. You say that the victim holds on to the dead ox, and the hashlama, the supplement, has to be paid by the mazik, but he doesn't have to give him a new ox. So the Gemara wondered and said, what's the chiddush in that halacha? You told me that you could pay even subin, you can pay whatever you want. So I can't pay with a nevela? Of course I can pay with a dead ox. So what's the chiddush in saying that the nizik holds on to it? So that the Gemara ended, the last words we said were lefchas nevela. The difference is that what happens is the moment it dies, until you go to court, when you guy tell him how much he has to pay, it's going to continue to go down. It's going to deteriorate the nevela, the dead animal. That difference, if you say it's the victims, which is what we're chiddush was saying, is okay, right away it's yours, $100. By the time we come to court, it's worth 75. That 25 is your loss. But if you would say that the mazik is the one who's responsible to pay the entire 200, he could just pay with whatever he wants. He could pay also with a nevela. Yeah, but now it's not worth 100 anymore. Now it's worth 75. It'll be a loss of 25. That's the chiddush of the halacha of tashlumi nizkai, and not just nizkai, and not just the halacha of sub. But then now the Gemara is going to continue and try to say that this halacha of chas nevela is a machlekes tanom. Sure, it's close by the kazach and cheskel turn to Bava Kama. I'm doing today's daf. So that's strong throughout the entire world. So I'm going to discuss in today's daf are the different shoymrim, the shomer chinam. The halacha is that he's put to megneva v'aved. He's exempt if something is stolen or lost from him. Shomer sacher is someone who's getting paid to watch. He's chay b'gneva v'aved. He's liable if it's stolen or lost from him. The halachic contrast of ein shaman, we do not evaluate the victim in regards to the damage. We don't do that for the gan megazlin. Only for the zakim. Meaning this halacha that we say we'll evaluate, say, okay, how much was the damage? You don't have to give a new thing. We'll just have to give the difference. You have to give the guy a new car. If you smash his car, you should have to pay the difference. That we only do for a victim of damage, but we don't do that for a gan megazlin. They have to give a whole new thing for what they damaged through the theft of that object. The halacha that we're discussing about Bava Kama Daf regarding the owners, they have to be involved and they have to take the loss. They have to take that item of the nevela. The 6 halachas of a certain amira, which starts off with the halacha of shiur sheyatz hamiktsas b'yamrishon. If you have the amniotic sac, which is the container of the fetus from the womb, that comes out part of it on the first day, miktsas b'yam sheni, and part of it the second day, a difficult childbirth, you're going from before shkia till after tzeis, one day to another day, we count that tuma already from the first day. The machlekes is regarding behema gas and niknas b'mashicha, that a large animal, meaning a large livestock, like cows or stuff like that, they're acquired by mashicha, by taking it from one domain to another domain. The machlekes is regarding shemesh shabas l'shem. Interesting machlekes the Gemara has regarding when, let's say, one custodian gives over to another one. As we'll see, differences if the first one is a more severe guardian, giving over to a lesser, or maybe even more severe. What's the halacha by giving over to someone else? So as we mentioned, pchas nevela is the halacha that if a person or his ox killed another's ox, the nizik owns the carcass mishas misa even before the mazik was found guilty in bezdin. So therefore, that was what we said the nafkamina was, if after misa the nevela's value decreased, the nizik suffers the loss because he already owns it, and the mazik pays only the difference of the nevela's value mishas misa, but not mishas amada bedin. That was what we said. It's the chiddush that we're teaching with this halacha of tashlumi nizka, because of course you could pay with a nevela, you could pay with anything. The chiddush is that it's his right away at the moment of death. Now the Gemara suggests, says the Gemara, the last line on Daf Yomi is leima b'chas nevela tanoi. Let's say this halacha of the deficiency, that what it goes down the value of the nevela from the time of death until the actual court case is a machlekes tanoi. The time like learn the brisa. It says in the pasuk, im tarev yitarev. There's a pasuk in Shemais Chav Beis. If there's going to be an animal that's going to be mauled, that you're watching, let's say, out in the fields, so Yiviehu aid, he should bring a witness. This is going on the Shomer Sacher, who's getting paid as a shepherd to watch the sheep, as a getin tab of Yodal from the base. That's what the pasuk says. Now, there's a machlekes how to translate this pasuk. The first man, the Amr says, Yavi Edim, that's what sounds like the simple translation of the pasuk also, let the Shomer Sacha, the paid custodian, bring witnesses, that it was mold beyond his control, a pack of wolves came and just like molded, Upater is going to be exempt. Because as Rashi explains, the Shomer Sacha, a paid custodian, is Pater ba'insin, some beyond his control, like it says in the pasuk. Umeis, if the animal dies, or Nishbor breaks a leg, or Nishbor gets taken captive, Ein Raya, so then Shavuos Hashem Tid Mishnayim, he could just swear and say, hey, it was an Einis, what do you want from me? And he'll be exempt. So if he brings a witness, is also going to exempt him, like Taisa explains, is either, if you bring a witness, is also way out. Okay, that's how he explains the pasuk. Abba Shloimy, he says a different interpretation. Yavi aid, he translates as Yavi Aduda, which Taisa brings a gear to Yavi Aruda, or Yavi Aduda. Our gear says Yavi Aduda. But be that as it may, it's referring to the nevela. Let the Shomer Sacha bring the carcass lebezdin to court. Why is he bringing it to court? So Rashi explains to evaluate its worth, and that's what the pasuk sounds like. Yeviu aid, which is Yavi Haduda, because we find the pasuk let's in Bereshit Memtes Babiku Yochel aid that refers to the shalol, as we translate in general. Shalol is adaa. It's the spoils. It's the that this is the what was the conquered, whatever it is, but it's the carcass. Let him bring that to court to evaluate it. Now, what's the point of doing that? And what's the machlekes and how you translate in the pasuk? So says the Gemara, my love, isn't it that b'hal k'miflagi? This is exactly what they're disagreeing about. That because Rashi explains, there's two ways you could say the machlekes. They're saying different interpretations. One's obviously not saying like the other one. So says Rashi regarding what the Tanna Kama said, that okay, bring witnesses that it was an oinus, and then you'll be off the hook. You can't say Abba Shol is disagreeing on that to say that even if the animal got mold ba'oinus, he should be chayiv, because we know that it's a pasuk in the Torah. Shemasach is not chayiv ba'oinus. So you can't say Abba Shol is disagreeing. He doesn't hold with the Tanna Kama's idea. So it must be the machlekes is the other way, that the Tanna Kama doesn't like what Abba Shol is saying. That must be the primary principle that they're disagreeing about. So what's the machlekes? So the Gemara explains the Ma'asav, because Abba Shol holds Chas nevelon, this that the animal goes down in value from the time of the death until the court case, is the nizikava, is the victim's loss. As because what he's trying to say is, if it was mold in your negligence that you're obligated to pay, so Yavi aid is Yavi adu to bring the nevela, and then add on from your house on the values that it's worth, b'shas misa. How do you know that? That's what the Gemara is obviously saying, but Rashi is saying, how do you know that? Because if it's because of you're saying, it actually doesn't even sound like that. It sounds like bring it when the court case is happening. How do you know that you'll pay of what its value is at the time of death? It says Rashi, because if you think it's talking about how much is worth now, and that's what the mazik has to supplement, and it's his laws, you don't need a pussy to tell you that. Because, like we said the svara on the previous stuff, if the guy had 100 nevelas, he would be able to pay with that. For sure here, where it's this guy's nevela, I wouldn't need a pasuk to tell me Yavi aid, bring it and evaluate it, because of course he can pay with any. Must be he's teaching you that regarding the pchas nevela, that it's the niziks and the value and how much it was worth at the time of death. And that's what the pasuk is teaching you. Umar, but the Tanna Kama who does not learn this drasha, Savar, he holds no, the pchas of nevela, the loss of its value from the time of death until the court case, is the mazikava. Is the mazik. So I don't need a pasuk to tell you such a drasha, because in regards to evaluating its value right now, I don't need a pasuk for that. That I know from Yashiv l'Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg that, yeah, pay with whatever. So you want to bring the nevela and evaluate that? Go ahead. Whatever it is you want to pay with. But therefore, the Gemara assumes that this is the machlekes between Tanna Kama and Abba Shol. If pchas nevela, it's the nizik or the mazik. Tanna Kama holds that it's that it's the niziks. That is the maziks, and Abba Shol holds it's the niziks, and that's what the pasuk is teaching you, that bring the carcass of what its value is at the moment of death. So the Gemara says, no, not necessarily. The kule alma the nizik. Everyone holds that the pchas nevela is the nizik, meaning the one who loses here is the victim. The victim, it's yours. The moment it died, the moment of the accident at 4:40, that's it. It was yours. Now it goes down. Okay, it's your own thing that's going down the value. So then what are they disagreeing about? Not pchas, not the deficiency of its value. The question is, who has to bring it from where it died? Meaning it fell into a pit, this guy's pit. Now, who is responsible for now going through the effort and bringing it out over there? Abishol holds that it's on the mazik to do that. As the Gemara says, that v'hatanya, which is not a question, but as we learned in the Brisa, that shows that you have this halacha. Achayim oimrim, the others, they say, minayin shal balabar, how do you know that it's on the owner of the pit? Who's the mazik? Lahalisha mibayroi, which is what Abishol is teaching you. Abishol, when he says yaviyu adu de lebezdin, he's saying, very simple, you got to bring it to court. You got to get the U-Haul and schlep that dead animal and bring it. That's all it's talking about. Not pchas nevela. It's tereich nevela. Just who has to go through the effort. Where do you know this from? Tamalem, because the way they read the pasuk, it's interesting. There's really supposed to be a comma over here, but they're reading without a comma. Kesef yashiv levolov v'hameis. Meaning, really, the pasuk is kesef yashiv v'hameis tilai. No, we're reading it as a chassid shavertul. We read it together that kesef yashiv v'hameis. That you have to give the money back to the owner and the dead animal. Sounds like that even the dead animal, Yashar Levalov, which is Abishal's halacha. Which obviously Tanna Kama disagrees and holds, no, the Tircha Nevela, it's not me, this is your dead animal, you go take it yourself. Somebody by Rava, Abai said to Rava, wait a second, what is this halacha talking about that you're telling me of that if the victim or the mazik has to go and schlep out the dead animal, and that is which the one who's telling me this halacha is Abishol. Tanakama is passively disagreeing, but the one who's telling me the halacha is Tircha de Denvela is on the nizik is Abishol. So what's the chiddush of this halacha? They tell me a pasuk is teaching me yavi aid that you have to bring the aduda. If in the pit the dead animal is worth one zuz, va'aguda, and on the edge of the pit shavi arba, it's worth 4 because now it's available. It's not in the dead, to go schlep out. Something even my mother would say in the back of the fridge you don't want to even look for. In the front of the fridge you'll take. Say in the bottom of the pit zichi you're not going to want to get, right. So when it's on the edge it'll be worth 4. So kitarach, so the Gemara says I don't understand. So when you go to the tircha b'denafshe tarach. Or the victim is gaining because now it has more value. So why do I need a pasuk v'hameis to teach me that the mazik has to go ahead and schlep it out to give it to the nizik? Of course he's going to take it because in the bottom of the pit it's only worth 1. Remember, he has to supplement the difference. On the bottom of the pit it's worth 1. On the edge of the pit it's worth 4. So if you tell me that Abishal is teaching me that the mazik has to go ahead, the tircha, the nevel is on the mazik, I don't need again, it's interesting, Gemara's question. The Gemara is assuming that no nudnik would need a pasuk to tell me that he's going to take it out because he gains money by taking it out. So what do we need a pasuk for if Svara would say that a person would take it out? Somebody says to Gemara, no, we needed to be buried Shabi Zuz. No, in the pit it's worth a Zuz, but good enough Shabi Zuz. On the edge of the pit it's also worth 1 Zuz. So Gemara says, is there such a thing? What do you mean? The Gemara assumes that it's obvious that has more value when it's more easily accessible, and you don't have to go down to the pit to get it. So Gemara says, yes, there is such a thing. I mean, people say keshura, a beam, the masa in town, it's bezuz, it's worth a zuz. Keshura b'dabri, a beam in the fields, even though you have to go and now bring it to town, it's also sold bezuzah for zuz. So it's interesting. The Gemara's chilek between havmin and maskana. When havmin assumes that it's going to be worth more when you take it out, and says no, not necessarily. Something is worth, and you tell the storekeeper, say, "What? No one cares for this anymore. It's already past the. This is what I sell it for. This is what it's worth." So you're not no price difference. So it's on the bottom of the pit. It's also going to be worth the same amount. So then you would say the mazik wouldn't take it out. That's when you need a pasuk to say that he has to bring out the tircha de nevela is on the mazik. But al kapam, we don't have a machlekes unnecessarily on the pechas nevela. But by nezakin, it seems like everyone agrees that pechas nevela is going to be for the nizik. Now, Amar Shmuel, continue on this halacha that we spoke about of what's called shaman, where we evaluate the extent of the damage, and that's it. The victim has now the broken car, and the mazik doesn't have to give him a new car. He just has to give him the supplement of that, what we call the pchas of the nevela. However, that's not for every category, as Shmuel says. He says the custom of the judges is that Ein Shaman, we do not evaluate an item to say, okay, you just have to supplement. We don't do that loy leganav, but loy legazlan. Leganav legazlan is either if you do it surreptitiously, you like do it sneakily, or you do it straight up with a gun. That if a guy robs or steals an animal or vessels and it goes down in value by him, we do not evaluate the nevelo, the broken pieces for the owner, that now the Gana only gives back the difference. Rather, he has to give him back a brand new animal or vessels, and the broken pieces are for the Ganav and the Gazlan. It's El and Nizakin. Only by a victim of damage, that's where we evaluate, because the Pasuk says, Vamesi Eloi, which we said, Vamesi Eloi, we said it wouldn't need it to teach me the Mazik, as we said in the previous daf. It's teaching you that the Nizik has to take Nevela, but that's only halacha for Hezek and not for Ganav and Gazan. Now, on the Oimer, but says Shmuel, and I say, that's why Taisus tries to figure out didn't Shmuel just say this halacha? No, he's saying it over in the same name of someone else. But Shmuel says, and I say, no, af l'shoyel, even for the borrower, va'abba, it's honorific for Rav, his colleague, moidel, he agrees to me. Now, the Gemara wonders, wait a second, they both had the following question. What is Shmuel saying? Af l'shoyel shamin, that also for a borrower you will evaluate, meaning it's going on the category of damages, which we say we do evaluate and you only have to supplement. And Abba Moidli and Abba agrees, and Rav agrees to me that yes, a shoyl is like Nezakin. Maybe this is what Shmuel was saying. On the other hand, I say af l'shoyl ain shaman, that also of a borrower you do not evaluate, meaning this af is going on Ganam Gazlan. Abba Moidli and Rav agrees to me that no, we're going to consider a shoyl, a borrower like the Ganam Gazlan, that you have to give back a whole brand new thing. Which one was he saying? And on the Omer af shoyl. So the Gemara says Tashmat's being a raya from a story. Who gathered there was a certain person, the Shol Narga Michaber, he borrowed an axe from his friend, and Tava, the axe broke when he borrowed it. So he comes to the Rav, says, I borrowed this axe, what do I do? Malay said to him, Zil Shol Narga Ma'alya. You got to give him back a brand new axe. Oh, says the Gemara, Shmami no Ein Shaman. Obviously, that unlike Hezek, where you just pay the difference, here you got to give him back a whole new thing. We do not evaluate. Says the Gemara, Adab, to the contrary, because the story continued. Rav Kahana Ravasi said to Rav, as the Gemara brings the Bam Mitzvah of Tzadik Vav Mabeis, do you know Hachi? Das is the din? Azoi Fitman? What do you mean? He has to give him back a brand new thing? Shasik, and Rav was quiet. Oh, obviously that he was Maida, Shmam and Shaman, that you do evaluate. You just said that if the axe was worth 100, now that he breaks it, it's worth 25, he only has to give him back 75. And now you know the rest of the story. You don't have to give back a whole new thing, right? So it's going to be so akapanim. You could really shmamina either way, depending which part of the story it is. But akapanim, that's the discussion regarding what do we do with a shah. But the Gemara says itmar ama ula. He says amar Abelaza shaman leganav ula gazan. He actually says not like we said from Shmuel before. He says a ganav and the gazan is just like nizakin, that we will evaluate if someone stole something. And as he had the stolen item, something went down in value in it, he just has to supplement. Now, Papi Amari says, no, ain't shaman, like Shmuel said. We do not evaluate. Vehilchasa ain't shaman, says the Gemara. The Gemara comes out, you do not evaluate loy legana but loy legazlan, which means say they have to give back a brand new item. And avulashayil, but for borrower, shaman, you do evaluate, meaning like damages. Because Rav Kahana, v'Rav Asi. Which Taisus explains, he says, what's the pshat? What's going on over here? What makes us tell us in certain cases shaman and not shaman? So he says, interesting, he says that kind of a gazlan is different because the pasuk says asher gazal, which the Gemara darshans later on Samach Vav Med Aleph, ke'ein shegazal, as it was stolen. So therefore you have to give back the stolen item or its value as it was, and you can't just give back like subin, like we have by Nizakin. So therefore, you don't have this halacha that you could just be mashlim it the way we say, because you could pay anything you want. So why can't it be mashlim? I can give you Nizakin, of course you can be mashlim, because you can pay with anything. So I don't have to give you a brand new axe. I don't have to give you anything. I can pay you with pieces of wood. I'll give you a metal head and a piece of wood, which is half of an axe and half an axe. I give you whatever I want. No. Hezek is learned of Amesi Eloi, and also from Yashav L'Rabba Shabbat Kesef, I can pay you with anything. So of course I don't have to give you a brand new thing. That's what hezek is. Hezek is your negligence. You had your ox or your boy or eish, whatever. Now the difference is, but by gzeil it says ke'in shagazel, what you got to give back as it was, which Taisus learns is the thing itself, brand new one, or its value, but not shaveh kesef. You can't give something like subin. That's the reason v'gana v'gazlan where it's ke'in shagazel. Now the same thing is, says Taisus, for the one who holds that a shoyel is ein shaman, meaning we're coming out that you are shaman. Shoyel is like one of the mazikim, like that you only have to supplement. But according to the one of the opinions we quoted said that even the shoyel would be like gana v'gazlan, because Taisus says an interesting story. He says a shoyel is chayev in einzin. A shoyel is responsible. You're getting all the hana because you just get to use something and you just give it back when you're done. You take the guy's mower and you just leave it in his garage. And you got whatever, but you didn't pay anything. So therefore comes out that you really acquired it the moment you took it from the owners, and now you're fully responsible for the money because anything that happens is your responsibility. So it's like Gana Magazin that it's already yours, and you got to give him back now exactly what you took from him. And therefore, it wouldn't be enough to supplement. You can't just give him back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I broke your handle. Here's $50 for the handle. You go deal with it now. You go figure it out." No, you got to give him back exactly what he gave you, and therefore that's why it's different than the zaken. Al kapanim, but the Gemara doesn't come out like that anyway. It says shoyel is like one like nezaken, and that we would be shaman. Now the Gemara continues, very unrelated, but what? That because he damaged. I don't know. I mean, it's a chiddush maybe by Gana Gazlan, because Gana Gazlan you acquired the item. By shoyel you acquired the item. When you damage, you pay for damage. I have to give you a brand new thing. I'm compensating you. I'm supplementing. No, that's the thing. So shoyel, when you borrow, you're taking the whole item. You're taking the whole item. That you owe the whole item now. When a guy breaks something, I never had access. I never got anything of the rest of your thing. I'm going to pay for what I damaged. Now, it's obviously not the brand new thing. You have to go maybe get the window pane with the, like we said, tircha de nevela, chast de nevela, whatever it is. But that has nothing to do with me. I never had access. It's I think the chiddush is the other way. And the chiddush in Geneva and Gzela and regarding shayel that you have to pay a brand new thing. That why would I do that? That's only when I took the whole lawnmower. But when I just was walking by and I smashed the handle of the lawnmower, a guy, you think it makes sense? A guy smashed a guy's car, he's got to get him a brand new car. You pay him for it's not the. You got to pay him for the difference. You got to pay him for the damage. In kind of a gazman, you stole the car. Now you own the whole car. Now when something happened as you stole the car, you scraped the door. You got to give me a brand new car because you owed me the whole car. That's fundamentally different than the Gana Magazin where I had nothing to do with the whole car. I just was passing by. My e-scooter came in, smashed, dented your whole the front of your car. That was all I had. That was all the thing that I entered into. So akapanim. But now the Gemara moves on to unrelated teachings, but it's the same Ula Rabbi Lazar. We just quote Ula Rabbi Lazar that says Shaman Lagana Magazlan. So now the Gemara quotes many different teachings from him, 6 additional unrelated halachas, but it's from the same Amayra. Ula Rabbi Lazar says Shilya is the amniotic sac, which the Gemara on Nidid of Chavdama base tells us that if the mother has a miscarriage of an amniotic sac, she has to sit days of Tumah and days of Tara. And the reason for that is because the amniotic sac does not come without a fetus. It just might have gotten dissolved inside of it. But there is a child, and therefore she is a Yeledis, and she has the Tumah and Tahara as Parsha Tazriya, Parsha Mitzayah, of the Tumah of Yeledis. Now, what happens if she yatsa miktsasa b'yamrishin? What happens if some of the amniotic sac comes out, some of it on day one, we're calling day one, whatever the first day could have been a Tuesday, whatever it was, day one, miktsasa b'yamsheni, and some of it, again, like let's say it was a protracted birth, whatever it is that miscarriage nebuch was it took a long time, a bunch of hours, so it was on day one, and it was a half hour before Shkia, and now she's going in a half hour after Tzeis. Some of it comes out day 2. What's the halacha? So says Ula, Mainila Minarishan. We're going to say that from day 1 she was already tamei, even if it was called a dry childbirth, meaning there's no blood that was coming out, But by virtue of the amniotic sac, which obviously had a child inside, therefore we're going to consider as tama of the leda from day one. On that only Rabbi says to Ula, ma daitach. I don't understand. What are you thinking? L'chumra? You think you're being stringent? That you're saying whatever tahirish she touched from day one is going to be tame from the moment that the amniotic sac came out? But chumra das lekuluhu, which Bechlal is always an important phrase that the Gemara brings down. Don't be so machmer. You realize your chumrah might bring to different leniencies. The komatagas lamarishan. What's going to happen is you're going to now purify already if you count from day one, which the halacha is that for a girl, there's a different amount of days of tummy than a boy. If a woman has a boy, biblically you're tummy for 7 days, and then you are tahar for 33 days. If you give birth to a girl, you're tummy for 14 days, and then you're going to be tahar for the 66 days after that. Now, she's going to count, we don't know what she miscarried, so we have to assume it's a girl. Okay. So, meaning because that's the Mohammed Digga one. So she's going to count 14 days of a girl from day one. That comes out, the blood she's going to see on day 15, she's going to assume is tahar, which is a leniency. Because had you counted from day 2, then the days of tahar would not take effect till the following day. So don't think you're a grace machmir over here. You're being a mekel also, because now you're going to say that day 15 is already made tahara for the next 33. Tez discusses either way, boy, girl, whatever. But it's definitely in the days of tahara from day 15, but really maybe it should only be day 16. Selam Rava amends Ula's teaching. He says, no, it's not the way you're saying it. Lachush chesheshes. To be concerned, yes, we'll be concerned to say that whatever tahara she touched on day 1 is going to be tummy. But mimnole mimamnia. But we're not going to count the 2 weeks of giving birth to a girl, ela l'sheni, only from day 2. So that we make sure machmer the other way too. So the Gemara says, wait a second, my kamash malan, what is this chiddush of Ula, which Rava amended it to mean, that says that we're chayshish from day 1? Obviously, his teaching is concerned for this idea that the ein mixer shilya b'lei vlad. You don't have ever a part of the amniotic sac that doesn't have the fetus inside over there. And therefore, we're concerned that maybe most of the dissolved child came out in that part of the amniotic sac. Now, if it was most of the child, that's considered as having been born. As the Gemara says in Daf Yomi Aleph, if the child comes out dismembered or cut up, until most of the baby comes out, that's when the birth is considered. Now, however, you're not going to definitively count from day 1 because maybe the majority didn't come out until day 2. But like Rashi explains, if you would say you could have some of the amniotic sac come out without part of the child, we would not have even been concerned, to say the taharas would be tummy on day 1, because we wouldn't be so concerned to say 2 stringencies. You would first have to say maybe it came out, and then you would have to say that it was the majority. That would be 2 chashashas. We wouldn't do that. But if you say that you never have mixed shel yibulei v'lat, every time it comes out, some of the child is there. Okay, now it's only 1 chashash. Maybe it was the majority. But if you wouldn't have that taina of ein mixed shel yibulei v'lat, then it would be 2 chashashas. So says the Gemara, is that what Ula is teaching us? But Tanina, is a Mishnah in Chulin. I don't need him to teach me this. What does the Mishnah teach? It says, Shilyam, the amniotic sac of an animal. Shiatza miktsasa, that some of the sac came out before the animal was slaughtered. The halach is when you slaughter an animal, the baby inside is permitted to be eaten. But if it was born, obviously, it's not going to be permitted with the mother's birth, with the mother's slaughtering. So what happens if they're doing a shechita and the sheikh says, "Oy vais," it's giving birth now. As he's shechting, he sees that some of it came out. The halacha is asuda ba'achila. It's totally forbidden to eat that baby, and you can't even eat the sac, even if there is no baby inside the sac, because simin vlad be'isha, simin vlad be'behema. It's a sign of a child by a woman, a sign of a child by an animal. Taste has a different girsa, but in other words, because the sac is a sign of a child, both by a woman and by an animal, where there is no sac without a child, it's just dissolved in over there. So we're concerned that maybe in that little bit that the sac that came out before the shechita was maybe the majority of the fetus, and the Gemara Nida tells us that when the majority came out, it's like it's born already. So if it's already born, so it's not permitted with the slaughtering of the mother. So therefore, you can't eat that amniotic sac. So says the Gemara. So what's the chiddush of ula? This is a Mishnah Masechtas Chulin. It says already this idea of ein miktzah shel b'lei blad. Says the Gemara, no, even if we only had the Mishnah, I would have said, as we continue to Beis, the yesh miktzah shel b'lei blad. It's not true. I would have said that you could have some of the sack without a child. So why is the sack forbidden to be eaten? Because it's forbidden the decree of miktzah tekula. Because of some of the sack, of when all of the sack would come out. As Rashi explains, the Mishnah Chulin says, Simin Vlad. I thought you said it's a sign of a child. Says Rashi, that's not going on miktsasa. You're right. Miktsasa, when some of the sack comes out, does not mean that there's definitely part of a child here. What the Mishnah is saying is, you cannot eat this sack. Why? As a gezerah, because of when all of the sack comes out. And then people are going to even come to say that even then, there's no child over here. Now the problem with that is, then if it goes back in, you would think, it's going to be slaughtered, it's going to be permitted with the slaughtering of the mother. And they're going to end up eating the vela, because that is definitely a simivlad by Isha, and so too by Behema, when all of it came out and then went back in. So that's a concern by an animal. But by a woman, says Rashi, that we would not be concerned for, maybe you would think, based if only we had that Mishnah Chulin, that when some of it comes out, to say, to be Matameh Taris of day one, because there's no Ikala Migzer Atakula, because here they see that when it did come out on day two, you did make it Tameh. So they know when it all comes out, it's going to be Tameh. So there's no reason for that concern to say that, we have to make it Tameh from day one. So therefore, Kamashmal, that's what you needed Ula to teach me that no, that you never have Miktzah Shilya B'loi Vlad, and therefore we're going to make her Tameh from that Chashash from day one. In other words, you could say from the Mishnah Chulin, I wouldn't say necessarily. Maybe Miktzahs could be without blood. And if you could be, then we're not going to make it the Gzera by here of two Chashashas, maybe some come in, and maybe it's a majority. So then why over there by Chulin did they say you can't eat it? Because there, people are going to confuse when some of it comes out and when all of it comes out, because it's not the same case. It would be in two different times. And they're going to think, I saw one time some of it came out. Maybe even when all of it comes out, comes back in, it's permitted with the mother slaughtering. No, that would be in the Vela. But over here, where the woman started giving birth, and then day one, if it won't be Matame, they're not going to confuse the thing when all of it comes, they're not Matame, because they saw on day two you were Matame when all of it came out. She becomes Tamei as Yeledis. So there's no Gzera Miktsasa Atakula. So therefore, I would have thought to say maybe that you would not make your Tamei for day one, therefore need Ula to teach you that we're going to make your Tamei even from day one. That's halacha number one. Halacha number two, again from the Amma Ula Amma Balasa. Says again, unrelated halachas that just from the same Amayra. B'chayr shenitraf, a firstborn son that got killed, b'toich lamed yoim, an accident, within 30 days. Ein paid naisa, you don't have to redeem the firstborn son. Now, as Rashi explains, if the child died on his own, I wouldn't need to say this halacha because the pasuk says if a duyim ibed chaydish tifte, you only redeem him when he's a month old. Here, there's a chiddush in telling us that we shouldn't say, wait a second, had there not been this accident, the child would have lived. He's not a nafel. He was a fully viable child, and you should redeem him. No, that's for saying that even if he died before day 30, you don't have to redeem him. Because day 30 is usually a sign of viability.
If he didn't reach a day, why would you think
that he would have to redeem him? Why would you think you have to redeem him?
On day 28.
Right. Why would you think? If you have to do Pinya Ben, you might have thought that you have to do Pinya Ben. Why? Because the whole point of waiting for day 30 is to see that he's a viable child. Like we find by Erichin. Erichin, we say, for
you don't do Pinya Ben.
Why? Why do you wait for day 30? We're saying that you would have thought to say from day 30, the only reason why you have to wait for 30 days, why do you have to wait why is Pinya Ben by day 30? Why is Pinya Ben not by day 15?
If it's viable, perhaps from day one you could be pointed. You only want to make sure it's viable and then you're pointed.
So you said this answer that you should have.
Right, so that's what he's saying, that no, you don't have to redeem him. And that's what Rabbi Chama teaches also. It says in the Pasuk, it says a double lashon, a double terminology. Now, why are you saying two times podei tifta? So maybe Yochalaf Nitrav B'Teich Lamed Yoim. maybe even if the child gets killed within 30 days, that you would have to redeem him. Talmud it says no ach, which is chalak, which is differentiating and saying that no, that you don't have to. And this is what again Taisa discusses some of these points that we were saying about what's considered as the viability, what's the actual case. Rabbi Tam actually gives a different interpretation of like he says, a Bechar has two heads. That's also like a treifa that also regarding what's considered as shenitraf. Akaponim, that's the way Rashi explains it. That no, you don't have to give if he died before 30 days. There's no chiv, and that's what we're learning from the word ach. Another teaching from Ula Omer Balaza. He says behema gasa. Again, unrelated teachings. The large livestock, like an ox, niknis b'meshicha, is acquired by pulling it from one domain to another domain. Says the Gemara of Anantam, we learned in the Mishnah in the first parak kedushin b'mesira. Mesira is different. What's the difference between meshicha and mesira? Mesira is once it's just like a handover. Like let's say give him over with the halter that holds the ox. You acquired it even though you didn't draw it from pull it out of the reshus of the meicher. So how is Ula saying it's b'meshicha? Says the Gemara, hu damike haytana. He's saying like a different time. The time like learn the brisa. The sages say zu v'zu. A behema gasa and a behema daka is b'meshicha, is by pulling it. Okay, so that's who Ula would be going like, that it is b'meshicha. If Shimon he says zu v'zu b'hagba, says both of them are by lifting it up, which Rashi points out. The Gemara Kedushin says, well, how do you do hagba on large animal like elephants? So you put bundles of branches beneath its feet, and it goes up on that. That's like hagba. That's like lifting it up. I'll upon them that both are with hagba. Okay, another teaching from Va'ama Ula Amar Balaza says Achen Shecholku, brothers that are dividing the estate of their father. Mashale and Shaman, this that they're wearing themselves, you evaluate. It goes into the evaluation. You took Tati's all his Armani suits, you took all his Versace belts, and okay, whatever they're wearing, you evaluate. Mashal Benem, but they say in Ein Shaman, but what their kids, their sons and daughters are wearing, you don't evaluate. Why? So Rashi explains that since the sons and daughters are not coming to court, we're not going to degrade them to parade them in front of the court and start saying, okay, how much is this outfit? How much is that outfit? Which, therefore, as Taisa says, that they're moichel for each other, not to have to schlep their kids into court. But interesting, Taisa brings from the Rif that's dafka big day chayil. That's the weekday clothing. But big day Shabbos, that he brings from the Yushalmi that we do evaluate. The expensive Shabbos outfits that they do. Okay. Amar Papi says, now, sometimes sometimes even what the brothers themselves, the Yarshim, even what they're wearing, you also don't evaluate. It doesn't go into the cheshbon. How do you have that? You have it by the oldest of the brothers, who he's the one that's busy with the Tati's business, where he does the business with that. The other brothers are pleased that he should be wearing nice clothing from the estate, so that the lishtamen mile, that his words should be listened to, because the guy has to be presentable, comes with a nice suit, anything, any self-respecting lawyer, if you want to be taken serious, you don't come in like a shirt untucked. You have to look well. So therefore, that also would not be considered as part of his, and it would be part of the estate, which Taisa says that if the brothers do protest, they're allowed to. But what we're saying is, as long as they don't protest, we presume that they're okay with it, so that he's listened to and he's able to represent the rest of the brothers when he's well dressed. Another teaching from Amar Ula Amar Balaza. He says that shomer shemasel shomer, when you have one custodian who gives over his job of watching to another shomer, Pater, the first one is exempt. For all the halachas, he would have been exempt had it been by him. He's also exempt now, and we don't say it's considered negligence just that he gave it over to another person. Now, I don't have to tell you, which is a chiddush, meaning I don't have to tell you when an unpaid custodian gives over to a paid custodian, and they get stolen or lost, where the shomer chinam, the original one, is going to be exempt, just like he would have been exempt had it been by him, where he wasn't negligent. We'll talk on a later daf what's with that second shomer, because that second shomer is being paid for his job, and he's actually liable. But forget about him for a second. The first guy, he's going to be exempt for sure, because he upgraded the guards, because a guy who's getting paid for the job to watch, obviously you pay for guards, for security, you're upgrading your the guy who's doing it for free is like, as part of the shmira job he's doing, right? Because a shemes sachar, that's why we say it's chai b'gneva v'aveda, is because we expect more from this guy. So I don't have to tell you that shemesh shemas Hashem is going to be potter when the shemechim gives the shemes sachar, but here's his chiddush. Elafil shemes sachar shemas l'shemechinam. A guy is getting paid to watch, gives it over to his neighbor who's going to do him a favor and watch for free. Even the hash the guru got it l'shmirasa, even though now he's downgrading the watching. Nami potter is also going to be exempt, meaning, as Rashi explains importantly, the shemes sachar, the original paid custodian, will be exempt if there was an oinus that happened to the second shemer, and the balabayas, the guy who gave him the object to watch, cannot tell him you were negligent that you gave it over to someone else. So, to the contrary, we won't consider it an oinus. We should consider it as a pshia, and therefore, even if you were a shemes sachar chayva geneva vaveda, we're going to say that you're going to be chayv even though it was an oinus. No, shari masla bendas. He gave it over to an intelligent being, and it was an oinus, and he would be part of it as an oinus. So even though he gave it to shemechinim, it's not considered a negligence, and therefore he's going to be pater. That's ula. Now Rav Ami says no, he disagrees. Rava says that actually shemesh masla shemer is chayv. A custodian that gives over to another one is going to be liable, even if it's an oinus. And v'loim, but I don't have to tell you shemesh sachar shemasla shemechinam. Of course you're going to be chayv, says Rava. When you're a paid custodian and you give it over, you have the audacity to give it over to your neighbor who's a nice guy, and you say, "Hey, do me a favor. You're getting paid $50 an hour to watch this." And you say, "Do me a favor. I have to go watch something now. Do me a favor. Watch this for me, right?" And the guru girl in Shmirasa is downgrading the Shmira. For sure, you're going to be chayiv. He says the opposite of Ula. Even if he was unpaid, who gave it to a paid, he's paying a guy. So do me a favor. I asked this guy asked me a favor. I'm doing it for free. I'll pay you $20 an hour. Watch this. He's michayev. Why? Namali tells him, "At mehemnes li b'shvua." I believed you, which is part of the shmira proposal. Which is, if something happens, you're going to swear to me that this was something that was whatever is einus. The shemechim swears that he wasn't negligent. I only believe you. I don't believe this guy with oath. So that's considered a negligence in your actual shmira itself. And therefore, even Shemechim Shemas Shemes Sachar says Rabbi going to be chayiv. Another unrelated teaching from Amma Ula, Amr Balaza, Hilchas Sadalach is goyven. You collect a debt min avadim from slaves. So Amalei Rav Nachman Ula, Amr Balaza, Afil Miyasmi. Did Rabbi Balaza say is teaching even from orphans? Meaning, if let's say the borrower died, and then it now falls in front of the orphans, would Rabbi Balaza say that the creditor collect from slaves? He could take his slaves because you consider slaves like karka, and you could collect even from orphans, because as we know, the metalton of Yisayim are not meshubed. Is it even from karka? So on that he said, no, that's only minay. Only from the bar himself, Rabbi Lazar said, because the creditor could collect from avadim because they're like metalton. So the Gemara said, minay? What's the chiddush from him? Even the shirt off his back. Which Taisa says not literally, it must mean he has two shirts because he only has one. The Gemara says elsewhere not, but like upon him, the halacha is that you could collect anything. What would be the chiddush from him? He made the slave into what's called apoy tehekoi. From here should be where you collect from. And the Rabbi is coming to tell us that if he sold the eved, the creditor could collect even from the lekuches. The Rabbi, like Rabbi said, Rabbi says, Asav de apoytiki machroi. If someone makes a slave into an apoytiki, which is a designated place of collection, and he sells him, the creditor could collect from him. But that's the contrast. But an ox makes an apoytiki and he sells him, then the creditor cannot collect from him. The question is, what's the difference? They're both metaltlin. What's the difference between the shar and the eved? So the Gemara, an eved, there's word gets out because an eved is a human being. It's something of higher significance, and therefore people know, and you know, so therefore you went and you bought it. It's now your liability. But let's call it. But a shar has no, the word doesn't get out, and lekuches are going to be stuck. No one's going to want to buy anymore. So therefore, that's why even at poitiki you cannot collect from the lekech. Now, as the Gemara continues, after Rav Nachman left, Ula said to those sitting in front of him that actually Hacha Amar Rabbi Lazar actually said, "I feel him." He asked me. It's not true. I didn't tell him the emes. It's actually even from the orphans, because avadim are like karka. Rav Nachman heard what happened behind his back. He said, Ishtamat and Ula was avoiding me. He was afraid because I hold Avadim are like metaltman. And he was afraid I might cut him down with halachas and questions, and therefore he avoided me by saying, no, it's only from him. But really, he held that it was even from the assignment, and that's what the Gemara is continuing the next daf regarding if we consider Avadim Kimakarke or Metaltman. Thank you to any time for hosting us.